Psoriasis is an autoimmune condition marked by abnormal patches of thick, red and scaly skin. This chronic condition affects the immune system, which changes the life cycle of skin cells. At present, around 7.5 million Americans are affected with this disease. A fact worth mentioning is that psoriasis also has significant economic impact on the country. According to a study published by JAMA Dermatology, direct costs in the U.S. related to this autoimmune disease reach $63 billion a year, while indirect costs, such as loss of working hours, are estimated at $35 billion. Other $35 billion are spent on related health issues, including heart diseases and depression. Everything summed up, the annual costs associated with psoriasis equaled $112 billion in the U.S. in 2013. Psoriasis is not only a topical skin condition. As mentioned earlier, psoriasis is an autoimmune condition, although there's still common misconception that it's only a skin condition. Psoriasis is linked to improper function of T cells, a type of white blood cells, which attack healthy skin cells by mistake. When T cells become hyperactive, they trigger a number of immune responses, all of which speed up the development of skin cells, making them accumulate on the outer skin layer within several days rather than weeks, as they normally do. This accelerated process of skin cell growth prevents the normal elimination of dead skin cells, which start accumulating as well, forming thick patches, the most prominent sign of psoriasis. 60% of people affected with psoriasis are at an increased risk of many other skin problems. To start with, the affected skin becomes so inflamed that it begins to crack and bleed. Often, psoriasis turns into psoriatic arthritis, which damages joint. People suffering from psoriasis are at a higher risk of other chronic diseases, including vision problems, type 2 diabetes, hypertension and heart diseases. Psychological distress is also an issue. There's general misconception that psoriasis is an infectious rash, which is why many people suffering from this condition are often avoided and socially excluded. This in turn leads to depression, social isolation, low self-esteem, and problems at work. Vitamin D is essential for all autoimmune diseases, including psoriasis. Having your vitamin D level tested is crucial when dealing with this skin condition. In fact, your vitamin D levels should always range between 50 to 70 ng/ml throughout the year. As this vitamin is a powerful immune modulator, it plays a critical role in the prevention of autoimmune diseases. Research reveals that vitamin D could have important immunomodulatory effects in psoriasis. However, 80% of psoriasis patients showed vitamin D deficiency in winter, and 50% of the patients in summer. Vitamin D can help treatment of psoriasis on several levels. First, it keeps keratinocyte growth and differentiation under control. Next, it affects the immune function of the T lymphocytes and other cells in the body. This vitamin stops cytotoxic T cells and controls skin cell growth. Last, but not least, vitamin D byproducts are commonly used in topical treatments of psoriasis. Phototherapy is also an effective treatment. As opposed to vitamin D supplementation, conventional therapies are both expensive and unsafe. Many psoriasis patients still suffer from the condition even after taking prescription drugs for psoriasis. Reptiva, which is commonly prescribed for treatment of psoriasis, has just been removed from the market because it has been linked to a higher risk of life-threatening brain infections. Although effective in the treatment of psoriasis, Stelara, another prescription drug, has only given temporary results as the symptoms return 5 years later. And, a 5-year-long therapy costs about $250,000. One of the most common psoriasis treatments is psoralen combined with UV light exposure, known as PUVA. Namely, psoralen makes the skin sensitive to UV light, but in fact, it's combined with UVA exposure, and UVA rays can cause skin damages, whereas UVB light stimulates production of vitamin D in the skin. Increase the vitamin D intake if you have psoriasis. Many health experts recommend direct exposure to sunlight as the most efficient treatment for psoriasis because this optimizes vitamin D levels in the body. Dr. Michael Hollick, a professor of dermatology, discussed this topic in his 2004 book, The UV Advantage, where he recommends getting enough sensible sun exposure. He was awarded the American Skin Association's Psoriasis Research Achievement Award for his research on the connection between vitamin D and psoriasis. As a result, I was in the Department of Dermatology, continuing to do psoriasis research. But once I began recommending sensible sun exposure for vitamin D, which is counter to what the American Academy of Dermatology's message was, I was asked to step down as professor of dermatology back in 2004. The American Academy of Dermatology still recommends you should never be exposed to one direct ray of sunlight for your entire life. As contradictory as it may sound, the research found vitamin D to be extremely effective in the treatment of psoriasis. This is due to the fact that exposure to sunlight gives amazing results because UV sun rays and other specific types of artificial light can destroy activated T cells in the skin. This in turn slows down the cell turnover, thus reducing scaling and inflammations. Adequate exposure to sunlight will provide enough vitamin D not only to counteract the overactive skin T cells, but also to improve other body functions. This is extremely important if you take that most psoriasis sufferers often lack vitamin D, and are at an increased risk of chronic diseases, including heart disease and metabolic syndrome, both of which are commonly linked with low vitamin D levels. Low vitamin D is associated with Parkinson's disease and cancer. Psoriasis sufferers are at a higher risk of Parkinson's disease, a condition also linked to vitamin D deficiency. A study confirms plasma levels of both dietary and sunlight-derived vitamin D are inversely correlated with the risk of Parkinson's disease, PD. The finding suggests that low vitamin D levels in PD are not simply a result of reduced mobility. In addition, a recent study has found that there is a strong link between high vitamin D level and significantly raised survival rates in patients diagnosed with advanced colorectal cancer. As found by the study, people with the highest vitamin D level had an average of 27.5 ng/ml, which is still far below the optimum of 50 to 70 ng/ml. There are about 200 epidemiological studies which confirm the same findings. Vitamin D deficiencies linked to cancer, whereas about 2,500 laboratory studies explain its physiological background. A 2007 study conducted by Joan Lepp and Robert Heaney involved a group of menopausal women who were given enough vitamin D to raise their serum level to 40 ng/ml at the end of the study. 4 years later, they had a 77% lower risk of developing cancer. Again, 40 ng/ml is a relatively moderate level. About 3,000 genes affected by vitamin D levels have been identified by scientists, which explains why this vitamin is vital for optimal health and prevention of many diseases. When was the last time you checked your vitamin D level? In healthy people, the optimal vitamin D levels equal 50 to 70 ng/ml. However, the treatment of chronic diseases, including cancer, heart disease, and autoimmune, that is, psoriasis, and/or neurological diseases, requires increasing the levels by double or ideally between 70 to 100 ng/ml. References for target ranges. Vitamin D deficiency is a common health issue worldwide, even in places where people spend a lot of time in the sun. As found in a recent study conducted in India, 69% of 37,000 subjects involved in the study had a deficiency in this vitamin, at or below 20 ng/ml. 15% of the subjects showed insufficient levels, 20 to 30 ng/ml. Men aged 31 to 60, and women aged 16 to 30, had the highest risk of vitamin D deficiency. The best way to increase your vitamin D levels is sensible UVB exposure, or taking a vitamin D supplement, vitamin D3. Individual doses depend on body weight. According to health experts, a pound of body weight requires 35 IUs of vitamin D. A doctor can also be consulted for proper dosage. If you take a vitamin D supplement, make sure you take K2 and magnesium as well. If you opt for vitamin D supplementation, make sure you take vitamin D3, not synthetic D2, and also take vitamin K2 and magnesium. The thing is, vitamin D is fat-soluble, and consuming some healthy fat with it will improve its absorption. Vitamin K2 carries calcium to different parts of the body. If there's vitamin K2 deficiency, calcium can build up in arteries, soft tissues and other areas in the body, which causes calcification or hardening of the arteries. In the past, it was believed that this condition was caused by vitamin D toxicity, but today, it's known for sure that calcification results from vitamin K2 deficiency, and it's not linked to higher vitamin D levels. Magnesium plays a vital role for proper calcium and vitamin D activity, due to the fact that it converts vitamin D into its active form. Magnesium supports the enzyme activity which helps your body metabolize vitamin D. In fact, all enzymes that metabolize vitamin D depend on magnesium for proper function. As with vitamin D and K2, magnesium deficiency is also quite common. Most people don't know that taking calcium supplementation while lacking magnesium only worsens your health. Other substances that interact with vitamin D include vitamin A, zinc, and boron. When taking supplements, it's important not to misbalance their ratio. The best way to obtain these nutrients is from organic food and sensible sun exposure. You can get magnesium from sea vegetables such as kelp, dulse, and nori. Vegetables in general are a great source. As far as supplements go, magnesium citrate and magnesium threonate are the best option.